I don't think we can stop these things happening because that's life. We're going to have influences from the most sublime Buddha Dharma Sangha all the way down to the troll. We're in a modern society where that's what we're going to deal with. And so what we've really got to look at is, okay, have I just got infected by somebody else's consciousness that I don't want to? So here's 3 signs that you might have got that sort of infection.
What if you could silence the noise of the world and access inner bliss? What if you knew the shining formulas for overcoming the enormous challenges that every soul faces? Welcome everyone, I'm Shakti Durga. Mystery School podcast, Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life, will explore the ancient wisdom of the East and West, sharing stories and music, channeling light beings, scanning the unseen world, learning useful spiritual tools and bringing forth peace, love, purpose and abundance. In Mystery School, we co-create and share sacred frequencies, sending ripples of love that empower new possibilities to ignite our spirits, overcome obstacles, manifest our most inspired life, a life where your challenges become doorways to your deepest truth, where you anchor yourself in clarity and presence, not from your pain, but from the doors it opens into the deepest wisdom that's already within you. Your path has already begun. It's right beneath your feet. Let's illuminate that path together.
Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome you to a very, very special episode. And you just heard in the opening, that was Shakti Durga, who has beautifully orchestrated the show and bringing these messages forward. You know, today's episode is one of these episodes where I'm going to open it up and then I'm just going to hand the conversation over because this is a learning episode. You know, Shakti, they all are, but this one right here, untangling from collective fear. I don't have many words because I think it's an energy. And I think people have got the energy of collective fear, not just in their hearts, but in their souls. I think something has, I don't know the right words, something has tapped in to something either so ancient, something so esoteric. And in my life, what I've learned when I was most afraid, somebody else's good helped turn that around for me. Thank you for taking this conversation on. Can you talk for a minute about the individual emotions? Because we're talking about collective fear, and many people may not know what we mean by collective fear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's start there. I think that as well as having an individuated consciousness, we're part of a collective, and whatever it is we're pouring out every day becomes part of the collective, and what it is that the collective's doing comes into us as well. And I think we often forget that we are part of a collective, and we can assume that if I'm, suddenly feeling anxious, or I'm suddenly swamped with overwhelm or feeling fearful, we can assume that this is something that's just arising from within me, and then we have to look around for where's the thing that's going on in my life that would make me feel that way. But the trouble is that sometimes these are just clouds of energy that are flowing through the culture, the society, and they get stirred up by events, but events also get stirred up by the collective fear. So something that might have been a 1 out of 10 problem suddenly feels like an 8 or 9 out of 10 problem, because it's so overlaid with all the fears that we then tap into, and then we're carrying the fear as well. And so if we're looking at the dynamism of how the future unfolds, and we're looking at the way in which creation does its thing through energy, because it's really energetic fields that coalesce to become physical reality. And so we've got to start thinking about, what am I putting into the field? And the first piece for me is that people understand, oh, is this mine or is it someone else's? That there's a possibility that what we're feeling may not actually be my own. And I think that's a good place to start.
I agree. You and I were chatting a minute before about the Olympics, and, I had a thought. And the thought that I had about this amazing skater, it just hurts my heart to see what people are posting about him.
Mm. Yeah.
But I had a thought relative to the show.
Mm.
And the thought was when he skated in the team program, he didn't skate perfectly. So,
Mhm.
what was the collective energy now about him? They had never seen him falter before.
Mm.
And I
Okay.
thought about this because for a lot of us that participate in the public, we stumble. I've
Mm.
stumbled.
Mm.
I mean, honestly, if you heard the first show I ever did with Deepak Chopra and how I pronounced his name for an hour, I'm glad he had a sense of humor. That's all I'm saying.
Oh my God. Look, you never get good at anything unless you muck it up some of the time. You just never can. That's why everything, it's called spiritual practice. It's called practicing law. Athletes practice, they do daily practice, and so we're always practicing to refine the skill. And the more we practice, the better we get. But there are still going to be good days and bad days because we're human beings and we're not robots.
Yeah.
So I think that people's expectations can be very high about other people, and then they can feel a sense of disappointment if their expectation is not met. But whether or not that's really anything to do with the skater is neither here nor, like it's not
Oh,
really, because the skater's just there clearly wanting to do his best because he's representing his country. It's the pinnacle of what he's been working to for years and years and years.
yeah.
And so he would have given it his best. And I think that the last thing you need when you've given something your best is to have a lot of trolling. But I think in this day and age, we kind of get used to the fact that that's part of the landscape.
No
And
kidding.
so then what we have to do is go, interesting, look at that. That's a bit of trolling. That's not none of my business. It's nothing to do with me. That's about the person doing the trolling. That's the consciousness of the troll, and it's got nothing to do
Yeah.
with me. So if you are a person who gets trolled sometimes, then just think about how you have a choice as to whether or not you take on what's been said, or you just go, well, not everybody's going to love everything, and what I'm doing is my best, and I just get on with doing my
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
talk about the signs because I referenced a sign and I've done several shows today and one of them was all about signs and here we are. I love this. But let's talk about the signs that we could be entangled in this
Mm.
collective
Yeah.
emotional, I don't know the right word for it, but you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I do. We are porous as beings, we think we stop at our skin, and that what's going on inside, whether it be feelings or thoughts, nobody knows about it. But you just try sharing space with 20 or 30 sensitive people, clairvoyants and clairaudience, and you have a situation where suddenly everyone's got a headache. This used to happen in my family when my kids were growing up, because they're sensitives and my husband's sensitive, and like all four of us have got a headache. It's like, well, hang on a minute. We've actually blobbed into each other energetically, and through the compassion and the caring, we've taken that on. We didn't even know which one of us started with the headache until we cut from each other and released the energy that we might have been carrying for each other. And then the one who was left with the headache, would give them a healing, So, but the point is that you do take on energy from others. So the science of it is evolving and emerging in terms of the way in which the quantum field is the field in which we're all living, and that all of us are putting our energy into that field and receiving from that field all the time. If you take the Vedanta approach or the yoga approach and the approach of many of the ancient cultures, then it's through our energy field that we're taking in and giving out. It's like breathing, but instead of just oxygen coming in, we're bringing in the gestalt of what's going on around us in our culture, and we're then breathing out our contribution to that culture.
Yeah.
So if we're concerned about the way that a culture's going, if we have fear for our culture and we're frightened, then we've got to look at, interesting, what have I got to do to deal with my fear? Because there seems to be, in accordance with the mysteries of both the East and West, there's two main potencies that are at play in our world. One of them is love, which is what we all want to focus on, but often what blocks love is the other one, which is fear. And so we're always dealing with this issue of bouncing between wanting to love, wanting to be in communion, wanting to see the best in people, wanting to be altruistic, wanting to be compassionate, but then coming against fears that put us into separation, they put us into judgment, and all of the shutters start coming down around us. And then we, our brains, our reticular systems in the brain, they get programmed in accordance with what we're expecting to see. And so therefore what will happen is, if I suddenly am concerned about a skater, then I'll only see the mistakes the skater's made.
Right.
If I'm concerned about politics, I'll only see the bad things that are happening, and I won't have the bandwidth to see anything that's good, and so on. With people as well, with individuals in our life, we start looking for the ways that they're not doing their best, and then we skate over all of the nice things that they might be
Yeah.
also doing. So this is something that it takes discernment, and that takes practice, and it takes the willingness to look outside of the lens that we've become habituated to.
Yeah.
So we get into this lens of there's so much going on that we can't deal with all that stimulus. So we put filters on, and those filters then become the shape of what we perceive our reality to be. And in the Vedanta, we call that construct Maya. So there's some confusion about what Maya is. In the early 1800s, there were some people who translated Maya as meaning illusion. And so for a long time, Western people thought that that people in India were only dealing with illusion and things that weren't real, whereas actually it's saying that we create our world, we create our lives, we create a gloss upon whatever's happening. We literally build constructs in our mind, and then we see the world through the lens of those constructs. But even with no matter what construct you build, you're still going to have a wash of the universality of the culture that you live in, and that is going to blob into your construct, and probably it's going to make it better or
Yeah.
worse depending upon what blobbing you're accepting. So
I
this
love
is
that
one of the
term.
places, this is one of the places where the Buddhists have got great advice for people, where they say there's 3 jewels we have in life to lift us so that what we're taking in as spiritual food is more wholesome than what otherwise oozes in from the mass consciousness. We don't want to be full of trolling energy and all the stuff that's out there in the mass media. It's actually like eating junk food when we take that into ourselves. So the Buddhists say there's 3 jewels. There's Buddha, there's Dharma, and there's Sangha. And what they're talking about there is the Buddha is, well, in Buddhism it's Buddha, but more generally it's a spiritual teacher who you think is wholesome and can help lead you in a good direction. Dharma is a set of teachings that feel wholesome, that you can relate to, that are right for you in the culture that you live in, but also are lifting you into universal principles that we can live by. And then Sangha means community, and it means having a community of like-minded people who are going to be supportive of you when you're having a hard time, but also who you get the opportunity to support when they might need that help too.
Yeah.
And that together, as we focus on the good, as we focus on what does it mean to be loving, how can you be loving in difficult situations, and how can you unhook from all of the fear-based stuff that's out there that otherwise starts to drown us.
I
And I
know
guess that's really where I'm coming from today
that
with this.
it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Look, I thought about this. So I moved across the country.
Yeah.
A lot of people know that. I
Mm.
was very excited about the move.
Yeah.
I know why I made the
Yeah.
move. Energetically, it went from the creativity and the water energy of the Pacific Northwest, and I needed to move back to the energy of the East Coast, whatever people think of that. Do you know? Here's what happens. People calling me and texting me, asking me if I'm okay.
Mm.
They're asking me, are you okay?
Mm.
Is something happening to you? Your
Mm.
backgrounds are really weird these days. I'm not kidding. This is the feedback. Why would you move back to New Jersey? At first, I didn't pay attention. But then, after a few of these, more than a few, text, emails, phone calls. And I'm talking about it like I have to defend myself.
Yeah, that's it.
I
Yeah.
took it in. It was a
Mm,
collective
mm.
energy where people thought, one of them said, "Are you dying? Did you go back home to die?" I'm not kidding.
Wow.
And this is a small version of what you're
Mm.
talking about.
Yeah, and the problem is that it can affect you, you know. So I don't think we can stop these things happening because that's life. We're going to have influences from the most sublime Buddha Dharma Sangha all the way down to the troll. You know, we're in a modern society where that's what we're going to deal with. And so what we've really got to look at is, okay, have I just got infected by somebody else's consciousness that I don't want to hold that consciousness. So here's three signs that you might have got that sort of infection. The first one is that you suddenly feel like something that you were excited about is wrong, or
Right.
that you know,
No
uh,
kidding.
or that you have a sudden wave of anxiety that doesn't match your circumstances, because your
Exactly.
circumstances are that you're actually excited to have gone back to where you came from,
Yeah.
and this whole motif of returning, returning to your
Mm,
homeland. Like, I know America's one country, but it's very different, isn't it, from east to
yeah.
west and everything else. So it's a return to where your life started, where your journey started. Very rich, very rich. And so waves of anxiety or feeling like you're wrong-footed when actually a minute ago you were quite happy, that's one sign you've just blobbed into mass consciousness that is junk food mass consciousness. The second one might be taking on other people's grief. If you're around people who are carrying a lot of grief, or they're carrying a lot of anger, and suddenly you find yourself quite angry. And I'm sure that's a natural human experience, that we've all had that. You go to visit a depressed person and you leave feeling depressed.
Mm.
Well, you've just blobbed with that person, and that's the problem. Or feeling drained after you've been with a group, for anything, for any reason. Doesn't matter if it's a business meeting, a family gathering, or even social media exposure where you're feeling drained at the end of it. So that's a few signs that you might be blobbing. Now, how does it happen? I spoke a minute ago about the energy field, but also our nervous system. It's built to be social. It's built so that we connect with each other, and there's parts of our nervous system that's looking for feedback from around us to see how other people are taking us in, and how we need to be taking them in. Is it safe in this room, etc., etc.? So the nervous system is definitely part of it. And then how it gets in is because of beliefs we might hold as well, and those beliefs become part of the Maya, or the structure that I was talking about. So if part of you unconsciously believes it's my job to make sure everybody's happy, then that blobbing will be more poignant than if you don't have that belief. Or if our value in life earlier was because I'm the strong one, so everyone can just dump all this stuff on me, and that I know a lot of women like that. A lot of really successful, amazing women who end up being the one everyone brings their problems to. And if you're not careful, you can get so congested with what everybody else is wanting your help with, that it can be really hard. And I don't think the answer, I'm not trying to say don't help people. I'm just saying that self-care and realizing that you may have taken on something that's not yours, that you don't have any karmic necessity to hold.
Yeah.
It's just the environment you're in. So it's a bit like, if there was an oil spill, which we've all seen that happen with ships crashing onto the shore or whatever, and oil spills. So if you go into that oil, you're going to come out covered in the oil. You need to wash it off again. So washing off dirty consciousness is the same as washing off any physical pollutant that we might find ourselves with.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the message really today, I
Yeah.
think, is to look at your consciousness and see, am I coming from a place where I've taken your stuff on?
Yeah.
And it's about firstly naming that that's happened for yourself. It's not about the other person.
I think that's
But
great, though. I think what you're talking about is knowing yourself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a perfect
Mm.
example is when something goes wrong, everybody calls Linda. Linda's one of our
Right.
producers. There are three of us here that
Mm.
pretty much make decisions.
Yeah.
Linda, Jessica, and me.
Mm.
But when something's not right or they really need help, they will
Mm.
call Linda and talk to Linda an hour and a half about it.
Right.
She is brilliant at compartmentalizing
Mm.
and helping. She's a helper. Now, me, I take that on and I have a very difficult time with that.
Mm. Right.
And yet at the same time, I am extremely compassionate, like
Yeah.
for the skater, right?
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how important is it for us to know ourselves so we know
Mm.
how to navigate the waters you just described?
Yeah.
I mean, I
Well, I
don't want to
think
be blobbing
mm,
all the time.
no, well, we are going to be. That's the thing. I
Oh
mean,
my
we are going
goodness.
to be blobbing all the time. You can't help it. It's a question of what do you then do about it?
It's
As in, what self-care
mhm.
do you then engage in to get that blobby energy out? I mean, um, as I said, Buddha Dharma Sangha, have a decent spiritual teacher, have a good set of teachings, turn to the teachings when you feel wrong and be with your community, you know. So that's one way. But simple daily things you can do. When you're in the shower, you can intend and ask that the spirit of the water
Mm.
cleanse you inside and outside, as in that you release all that you've taken on from others and you can use your breath. Take a deep breath in, and then with the out breath, you just consciously release anything you've taken on from other people that's not feeding your spirit. And that's the thing. Some of what we breathe in is excellent, beautiful, amazing. Like that's why when you go into nature, you suddenly feel better because you blob into nature, if you see what I mean. And so we want to be blobbing into nature because it's so amazing.
Mhm.
But then if you go into the middle of a city, and particularly where there's issues, problems, whatever going on, and the air feels kind of crackly and not so good, then understanding that like the breath takes in whatever's in the air, so it is that your energy field takes in whatever the energy is that you're around, and that every now and again we just got to clean it out. So the shower's a great idea. I really think that in the future, perhaps, particularly in the advent of AI, when, you know, if the pundits are correct, all of us will be working less, then we may have more time for the arts, for education, for spirituality, and we might have more time to do things like start to learn about our energy field. And perhaps in the future, people might learn simple basic tools of energetic
Yeah.
hygiene to look after yourself, which is one of the things that, you know, we teach people, and there's a lot of other schools that would also be teaching that sort of work. You can learn it in an hour or two, you know, just
Yeah.
how to sweep your own energy field, or how to use a healing meditation that you can do at the end of the day to just not have a toxic buildup of all that stuff.
Can we
Because
talk about the
eventually,
mystery school for a minute?
sure,
Because
yeah,
I really want people to understand what you just said.
mm,
Because you teach people
mm,
ways
yeah,
now to go, and I'm not talking a few, once upon a time, it was like a few people had situations.
mm,
Now we are so getting detailed information, it's across the board.
yeah,
I was out to dinner the other night, and a husband and wife sitting next to each other, and they were both on their phones. I have no idea. I thought, yeah, here, I made up a story. Linda didn't. I made up a story. I said they must be doctors. That was my story because it's not rational to me. Linda's
mm,
like, no, they're not focused. So, but you help people navigate daily
mm,
waters now. See, once
yeah,
upon a time, we didn't have to do it. But can
mm,
you talk more about what you're
mm,
doing in the mystery
yeah,
school, what you're doing, and
yeah.
what's available for people to help with this? Because this is a problem.
It is a problem. And so we put together a series called The Path of Ease and Grace, and it's to guide people through a whole set of tools that are easy to learn, and that have all got resources so that you can do it yourself at home to help you with your health, to help you with relationships, to help you manage the energetic side of life. And people find it amazing how much better they feel once they learn the tools, and then they can use the tools. They can start to go, oh, I'm suddenly feeling, I've fallen in a hole. What could that be? And there's a bit of a checklist as to what it could be and tools you could use to help get yourself back out of that checklist again, out of the hole. So the mystery school is about like-minded people who want to live not just from a physical perspective, but they want to live from their spirit and their soul. They want to be able to be even more compassionate than they've ever been so far. They want to love more than they've ever loved. And they want to be able to keep moving forward, I suppose, in life, despite all of the things that we're all dealing with at the moment. So it's a very strengthening process as well. And whilst, of course, there are times when we use transcendental processes which help lift you out of whatever it is you got, so you get a bit of a holiday for a minute from whatever it is you've been doing. The real skill in applied spirituality is to know how to bring that energy back in again, how to bring the light and the love of the infinite back into everyday situations. Because I really think that it's the everyday minutiae of life that is our spiritual path. And the better we can get at navigating that, the more what the energy that comes from us out to everyone else is going to be cleaner, it's going to be more uplifting, and it will transform our lives, as well as we're playing our part in the transformation in the right direction of, the mass consciousness or the collective consciousness.
And I think it's so important to remind people. I had a very important meeting today with an attorney team and a restructuring team, very important, really positive, but I didn't feel positive about it, right? Why?
Yeah.
Because I spent a career re-engineering and restructuring, and it never turned out good for an organization. But that wasn't what this was about. And so I just started to turn on people and listen. I started to listen. And it calmed me down.
Yeah.
I think what you're inviting people to is not just learning a practice, but becoming the practice.
Becoming the practice. It's pretty much a lifelong change, series of little changes that you make, and each one compounds with the other changes you've made and the tools. I used to deal with things, as an absentee landlord, just whatever happened. And now I'm starting to realize, oh, I can just sweep that path. I can just do a little sweeping here and there, and the result in your life is so different, different. And it's usual for people in the mystery school to find that their family start getting nicer, and they're not doing any spiritual work. The person in the mystery school is doing all the spiritual work and the heavy lifting, I suppose, but the benefit goes to the whole family, and it goes to people's children, passes down the line. So it's very, very valuable to do this in a way that is kind of planned and proven, and we've used it for years and years and years. It's been going 25 years, this mystery school, and the output of people feeling safe in their life, feeling confident in their life, being able to deal with the things that life throws at you in a whole different way, as well as feeling connected and being able to hold love in situations where you couldn't before. So they're just some of the benefits of a mystery school. And Buddha Dharma Sangha is in place within the mystery school with all of our different teachers and the things that we do as well.
And what is the best way for people to find out, especially about the class you just mentioned? Where should they go for that?
Ease and Grace. They should go to the Shanti Mission website, shantimission.org, and they'll see the Path of Ease and Grace. And soon we'll be launching the Path of Ease and Grace website as well, so they'll be able to go straight to the Path of Ease and Grace. Because who doesn't want to live with more
I
ease
just
and
was
grace
thinking
than
that
before.
Who doesn't want the path of ease and grace?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And because we run as a charity, those who can pay, we ask them to pay, and those who can't, well, we find out how we can support you and what sort of contribution you might make, and even paying it forward is fine with us. Like if you say, okay, I'm going to go and help at a soup kitchen for the next 3 months, then we'll say, fine, come and do our seminar, because that's paying it forward, if you see what I mean. So we don't want anyone who really wants to learn to be excluded from what we're doing. And so reach out to us if you'd like a bit of help, because it's often when we are a bit down and out that we really need the spiritual education, and it transforms everything. We become abundant again.
It's nothing
Yeah.
more powerful than being in service, though.
Yeah. Yeah,
That
that's right.
is amazing.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a lot of funds during a transition. And so what I did is I decided to work in volunteer in New York when they went
Right.
through the AIDS crisis.
Oh, good idea.
And I had no idea how that would change me. I just
Mm.
thought my mentor said, you must do something of service. Why don't you go help them? But I had no idea what,
Mm.
not only what that was of service meant, but what that was of service to me. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
changed me.
That's right. Service is for us. I mean, it looks like it's
It
for other people, but oh my
just,
God,
I
we're
know,
the ones that get the spiritual benefit. It's pretty amazing.
just
Yeah.
like forgiveness, people. Just
Yeah.
saying. Thank you so much for this. I have one last question. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave people with?
Don't let the turkeys get you down. As in, whatever's going on out there in the world, it's just a phase we're going through. And so you do your inner work and transmute what's yours to transmute and release the rest and leave it with a blessing.
I love it. For those of you out there, don't be afraid to change your spirit animal. Why am I saying that? Just because the raven loved me on the West Coast, I now have the geese that land right out there every day. A new energy, a new day, a new pathway for ease and grace.
Wow.
Thank you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining me for Mystery School, Ancient Wisdom for Everyday Life. Be the detective of your spirit and soul and seek the doorways to a new reality. Take one insight from today and let it illuminate your path. Visit shantimission.org to learn more about our other programs, meditations, and resources for living with ease and grace, and sign up for our free Soulful Relationships Masterclass. In this class, we'll cleanse and purify the relationship energy in a key relationship in your life. Previous students have experienced rapid transformation in their marriages, in their relationships, with family, work colleagues, teenagers, just from this one practice. And you'll have a spiritual key to successful relationships that you can use again and again. Sign up for the free masterclass at shantimission.org. And we'll be back at 3 p.m. Pacific time every first and third Monday for Mystery School. Mark it in your calendar. We'll see you next time.